The loss of a significant amount of cargo from a massive container ship quickly became headline news. However, the true nature of the cargo remained shrouded in secrecy, until two unauthorized divers took it upon themselves to uncover the truth. With permission, they hoped the secret contents of the cargo would make them rich. Instead, their discovery left them with no choice but to notify the authorities. Ben and Tom secured their oxygen tanks and dove back down again. Now that they had finally been able to locate the containers, they could barely contain their excitement. They cut this mysterious container's last lock and watched it slowly fall down. When the divers finally entered, they needed a moment to comprehend what lay before them. How could it be that no one had claimed this cargo? But what exactly did the divers discover within the sunken cargo ship, and what prompted them to involve the police? The weather changed way quicker than anybody expected that day. The wind quickly picked up, and waves as high as houses slammed into the ship. Because of this, the ship began to tilt. It was chaos on board. Most of the men could hurry to safety as they watched almost all the cargo disappear. Some of it fell on top of other containers, and some of it into the water. The crew was at a loss for what to do. They understood that recovering the cargo was out of the question, so they didn't even attempt it. Their only choice was to ensure their safety and wait for the storm's peak to pass. After that, they could focus on getting to the closest harbor. Not long after the cargo fell overboard, the crew started to receive strange messages and threats. Word spread around the ship that one of the containers had belonged to an important person who needed to get his cargo from the water. People started guessing what could be in the container that was so important. The rumor went from crew member to crew member until it reached Tom and Ben, two experienced divers who worked on the ship. As Tom and Ben looked into what the dive would entail, they realized that it would be the most difficult one they'd ever attempted. Even though they were experienced, they only went diving for fun. Tom and Ben usually liked to explore caves or a few small shipwrecks just off the coast. The dive to reach the containers would be exceptionally deep and dangerous. Preparation ended up taking several months, and there was one key change to their original plan that had the chance to change absolutely everything about their mission. Instead of trying to manage the dive on their own, Tom and Ben hired 4 additional people to assist them. They also rented 2 boats and the best equipment they could afford. In order to identify the right container and film what was inside, they needed cameras, monitors, and lighting. At last, the day of the dive came. Using scanners, they located the containers exactly where the team had anticipated. The entire team was eager to dive in and start searching for the enigmatic container. But there was one thing holding them back. One of the men, Jack, had spotted an unexpected problem. Jack showed everyone else what he was concerned about on the monitor. There was some kind of large animal nearby that seemed to be staying close to their boats. They were worried about sharks, but the creature on the screen seemed too big for that. What was in the water? The team decided to be patient instead of rushing in and risking a shark attack. After a few minutes, the animal disappeared from the screen. Tom and Ben could finally take the dive they'd been waiting for. But it seemed like as soon as they dove in, everything about their plan went wrong. The conditions were even worse than they'd expected. The water was freezing cold, even through their expensive gear. However, Tom and Ben were determined not to give up. They dove further down, relying on a rope system to guide their movements. Both carried cameras, hoping to capture footage of what was inside the container. When they reached the first group of containers, the doors were all tightly secured and locked. Tom and Ben knew they would be, and had brought tools to break the locks. One by one, they broke off the locks and prepared to check out the cargo. Only one detail seemed different from what they'd imagined. There were only 10 containers in that part of the ocean. Tom and Ben's team hadn't expected the containers to be light enough to move in the current, But maybe they were wrong. They knew they didn't have enough time to search for the other containers that day. But then something caught Tom's eye. Tom noticed that one of the containers had even more security features than the other containers. There were chains wrapped around the handles instead of a plain lock, and the lock that was there seemed sturdier. They didn't want to damage the cargo, so they took their time breaking into the container. The two men worked on breaking in and took turns attempting to cut through all the chains. When they finally made it through, they barely had enough oxygen to make it back to their boats. They had to resurface before opening the container and seeing what was inside. They regrouped at the boat and came up with a plan of attack. They dove back down with inflatable equipment that would help them carry many more objects to the surface. They got themselves to the container door again and shone their flashlights. Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. Inside, the container was nearly completely filled up with a large machine of some sort. Staring into the belly of the container, Ben and Tom's torch beams caught a mechanical behemoth. "It looks like a filtration system," Tom muttered, his fingers brushing over its shiny surface, baffled by how it was still operational. As Ben examined the intricate setup, his flashlight revealed a transparent compartment attached to the system. Inside were laminated photographs of locations and unfamiliar faces, as well as intricate documents that were hard to make out. Beside the machine was a small control panel equipped with input ports and blinking lights. Ben carefully pulled out an object that resembled a waterproof modem with encrypted data transfer capabilities. While engrossed in the mystery, a muffled thud echoed from above. Using his torch, Tom scanned the murky distance and noticed a shower of fine bubbles. He silently mouthed to Ben, "We're not alone." From the shadows, vague outlines of divers with unknown insignia emerged, heading straight for the container. They aren't here for a leisure dive, Ben thought, a wave of panic setting in. The mysterious group seemed to be systematically scanning the seabed, inching closer. Understanding the imminent threat, Tom signaled Ben to ascend immediately. They deployed their emergency balloons, allowing them a quicker yet safe ascent. Reaching their boat, Tom and Ben pulled themselves aboard, panting heavily as they removed their diving gear. A deep rumble echoed in their ears. When they turned, they saw a sleek black vessel slicing through the water, rapidly approaching their position. Without a moment's hesitation, Tom fired up the boat's engines. Using their knowledge of the local waters, they made a beeline for the serpentine channels that snaked between the islands. The channel's shallow waters would be perilous for a larger vessel, giving them an edge. The roar of the engines echoed louder as they accelerated through a particularly narrow cavern. Tom could barely make out the roof of the cavern and navigated using memory and instinct. Behind them, the black vessel hesitated briefly at the entrance before turning around. They'd lost their pursuers, at least for now. Amidst the intricate network of islands, a concealed cove provided the sanctuary Tom and Ben desperately needed. The immediate threat seemed distant now, replaced by the gentle sounds of lapping waves. Ben started laying out the items they'd retrieved, the laminated photographs, the encrypted device, all under the soft glow of their boat's lantern. By dawn, the two decided it was time to loop in the law. Ben contacted the local Coast Guard, providing details about their discovery. Shortly after, they were connected to higher authorities through an encrypted channel. Tom stressed the need for secrecy and highlighted the danger they had encountered. Given the enormity of the discovery, a joint task force was quickly constituted. It comprised seasoned divers, cyber experts, and intelligence operatives. The mission: to uncover the mysteries of the submerged cargo. Tom and Ben, being the primary discoverers, were integral members. With the task force on board, the duo guided the larger vessel towards the container's coordinates. With the drones, enhanced lighting, and cutting-edge communication tools, this wasn't a simple dive. It was a full-scale operation. The dive commenced. As the bubbles cleared, the task force converged around the container. Tom and Ben, leading the way, felt a renewed sense of wonder coupled with caution. With each revelation, more questions arose, drawing them further into the depths of the enigma. As footage of the sunken container and its mysteries surfaced, the media latched on. The story was too tantalizing to ignore. A submerged container, cryptic finds, a mysterious chase. News outlets worldwide broadcasted the unfolding drama, with millions glued to their screens awaiting updates. With encrypted devices spread across the main deck, a team of cyber experts huddled around, attempting to crack their codes. As more information was decrypted, patterns started to surface. The network wasn't merely extensive, it was vast. The evidence revealed connections to a syndicate with influence spanning entire continents. A clandestine underworld, so subtle yet immensely powerful that merely hearing its name evoked fear. The CIA, MI6, and Interpol joined forces, transforming the investigation into a monumental global operation. In-depth probes revealed the syndicate's expansive operations, from smuggling to cyber warfare. Their reach was unparalleled. Coordinated raids took place globally, from the alleyways of Bangkok to penthouses in New York. Key players were rounded up. Interrogation rooms worldwide hummed with activity as authorities pressed for information, attempting to dismantle the syndicate piece by piece. Yet the core remained elusive. The mastermind, the puppeteer pulling the strings, remained a shadow. Despite their successes, investigators felt the weight of the chase, knowing the head of the snake was still at large, plotting its next move. With fresh insights, the task force prepped for another dive. Armed with new tools and a refined purpose, they aimed to study every inch of the container's unique design. They believed it held the secrets, the key to the entire operation. The sea, however, showed no mercy. Powerful currents and poor visibility turned the dive into a perilous endeavor. The teams struggled with equipment failures and navigation difficulties, yet their determination was unwavering. Pushing through adversity, they sought to unravel the container's mysteries. Unmarked divers, skilled in combat, began their descent to intercept the task force, making the investigation a battle for survival. Understanding the immense value and risk, authorities fortified the container's location. Naval patrols, underwater drones, and advanced surveillance ensured the site's protection. Amid the fortified container site, a tent buzzed with activity. Leading engineers and codebreakers were flown in, poring over the machine's schematics. To the amazement of all, the machine was more than just a filter. It was an advanced preservation and encryption device. As investigators pieced together the machine's origins, a shocking pattern emerged. Similar modus operandi, unresolved thefts, and missing art pieces from the past started aligning. When the details became public, the world was left in shock. News outlets provided nonstop coverage, analyzing the sophistication of the criminal empire and the enigmatic machine at its core. The revelations sent ripples across nations, with leaders and citizens alike grappling with the scale of the deception. Deep within the machine, a hidden panel clicked open. Inside, neatly arranged, were rows of suitcases. Tom and Ben, breath held in anticipation, gingerly opened them. Their lights reflected off the treasures within. Each suitcase unveiled a marvel, from age-old paintings that had vanished decades ago to stacks of currency from various countries. The enormity of the find was breathtaking. The art, priceless and irreplaceable, represented history and culture. The money, meticulously catalogued, hinted at the syndicate's vast wealth. Tom and Ben stood back, the weight of the moment settling upon them. From a simple dive to the heart of a global conspiracy, they had unearthed a treasure beyond imagination. Their perilous journey had led to this groundbreaking discovery. Recognition flooded in: medals, awards, and media interviews. Tom and Ben were hailed as heroes of the modern era. With the evidence in hand and public outcry at its peak, the syndicate's empire began its descent. Raids, arrests, and trials marked the end of its dark reign. Its leaders, once shadows puppeteering from behind the scenes, now faced the glare of justice. Museums worldwide rejoiced as the stolen art made its way back. The pieces, symbols of heritage, were lovingly restored to their rightful places. Did you enjoy this story? Do you have the courage to stand up against evil organizations, or would you prefer to remain safe? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, please subscribe to this channel and leave a like. As for Tom and Ben, their remarkable adventure turned into legend. Thank you very much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.